Uh, I was just moving right along with the horror challenge. The assignment was to watch a supernatural horror, and of course, what else would I watch except, like the classic supernatural horror movie, The Exorcist. The it's the extended director's cut. It says. Um, yeah. Did you know the spider walking scene wasn't in the theatrical? I didn't until I watched it on my cousin's Voodoo, and it was just the theatrical, and I was like, "Where's that scene?" And anyway, the movie was controversial upon release for the spiritual elements being debated, as well as more obscene language than most mainstream viewers were probably used to at that time, especially coming from the mouth of a child. The actress Linda Blair has Regan McNeil, the girl who gets possessed. And the film was kind of rumored to be cursed. Like, some bad stuff happened on production, and Linda Blair got crap for years for being in this movie, which, come on. I mean, she's just a kid. She didn't write the movie. She didn't decide what would be in the movie. She didn't, she probably didn't even know a lot of what was going to be in it when she was filming it. Just don't be an asshole to kids, okay? That's what I'm saying. Um, but that said, she is very good in this movie. She starts out as at the beginning as a a happy, sweet girl, and then slowly morphs into you know the image that we all know and are terrified by. Um, and I think she does that pretty seamlessly. I think she gives honestly the scariest performance I've seen in a movie. Just that a girl that young can be that convincingly scary, and but also happy. And um, I know the performance owes a lot to the voiceover by Mercedes McCambridge when the demon fully takes over, as well as the makeup and everything. But I I still think she plays within all of that like really well. She makes that role her own. More convincingly than I've seen any child probably do in a horror movie. Um, yeah, I didn't think The Omen was as good as this. Um, Partially for that reason. But let's just get into the movie. I really want to talk about the opening scene. I'd like to point that out. I wasn't sure before what the point of it was, but I think the point is like the older priest played by Max von Sydow. He's an archaeologist, and he finds this evil-looking statue that just kind of gives him some bad vibes, and he just feels very uneasy just having just kind of evil presence around. And that scene is like probably one of the most well done I've seen in a horror movie because there's little to no dialogue. It's just all done through the shots and through Max von Sydow's expressions, and it's very subtle, but you get the idea. And then we go home to where Reagan has apparently found a Ouija board, and we get a little semi scare with that when the thing seems to move without anyone touching it, but it happens so quick that maybe she did touch it, so you're a little skeptical at first. Um, Honestly, even if you're not religious, I think the point is well taken that evil is everywhere, no matter where you are in the world, whether you're at a archaeological dig in the Middle East or at here in America. And you just got to be careful that you're not doing anything to let that stuff loose in your life. And, and then I think one of the strokes of genius in this movie is that it's not all horror. It's not all of the over the top scenes that the movie is known for, like the head turning or the spider walking or the vomit or any of that. It's not all that. Like it's has a lot of subtle scares that like slowly build on top of one another till we get to those famous scenes. And so by the time we get there, it feels all the more real to us because it honestly starts out like just a regular movie where her mom, she's an actress, played by Ellen Burstyn. She goes about her life, just doing her stuff with her movie career, and Reagan does her normal kid stuff, and it feels like a regular movie, like a slice of life. But then little creepy things that you may or may not notice, like faces in the shadows that you might blink and you miss them. They just keep stacking on top of each other until you got a full-blown nightmare possession on your hands. And yeah, I think that's what makes the movie really work. Like, it may not be technically as scary as it was when it came out in 1973. Because, I mean, I'm sure you've all heard the stories of moviegoers who were, like, fainting and vomiting when they saw the movie. And, yeah. I don't think it's nearly that bad anymore, but I do think it still works. Like, even if it doesn't scare you like a traditional horror movie would nowadays, movie just kind of has this sense of dread about it. Like, every scene, like, even the scenes that are in light, there always seems to be a shadow, like, an invisible shadow draped over everything. And because the movie is interspersed with just scenes of regular life. Like, even after some of the creepy stuff starts, there's still just regular stuff going on, intermingled with the horror scenes. And so, it feels like real life, which makes the scary stuff seem all the more likely that it could be real. Um, you know, I think that how scary it is now might depend largely on how much of what you believe could really happen that takes place in the movie. Because, I mean, I'm Catholic, I believe in, stuff like God, the devil, spiritual warfare, exorcisms, possessions, all that stuff. I believe that's a thing. Catholic Church still has exorcisms, I believe. How often, I don't know. They generally try to keep it pretty hush-hush. It's like, their little secret that nobody talks about, but everybody is kind of vaguely aware of. It's the church's elephant in the room, kind of. Nobody really knows who the exorcists are within the church. And, yeah, and of course, just like, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe, just like they show in the movie, you have to exhaust all other possibilities before they decide to, say this is a possession that needs to be tended to. And, yeah, they do show all of that in the movie. She goes to a doctor, psychiatrist, she gets some kind of a, don't know what it's called, some kind of a brain test done where they take pictures of the brain to see if there's some kind of lesion on there making her behave strangely. And they show that whole process of prepping her for it and putting her through the machine and everything, and honestly, that's kind of disturbing to watch because, obviously that's a thing that real people have to do, and it's just kind of, you know. And they even hypnotize her at one point until they finally decide to turn to a priest, try to see about an exorcism. Because I think, the theory is, even if you don't believe in that sort of thing, if the person in question thinks that they are being possessed, then the suggestion that you're exorcising a demon from them could, like, mentally make them okay again. At least that's the theory that they're going off in the movie. And so, yeah, they go to this kind of priest slash psychologist, Damian Karras, who, he's kind of losing his faith, but, once confronted with all this, kind of is like, yeah, okay, I guess it's real. I should deal with it. And him and Max von Sydow's character go in to take care of it. And I can't honestly speak for how accurate the exorcism process they portray is, because I've never been there for one. I don't ever want to be there for one. I actually heard the audio from an exorcism once, and honestly, even if you don't believe that there was genuine demonic speaking on that recording, it's still pretty unnerving. And I just don't wish to partake of that. Like, you know how, I'm sure you all know that seeing footage of a real murder is nothing compared to watching it in the movies. But I kind of feel the same way about actual exorcism footage. That's a thing that I believe is real. And yeah, but honestly, even if you don't, the way they, as I said before, the way they set up the movie and the structure makes it feel like this could happen. Like somebody next door could get possessed and need an exorcist. Um, yeah, and all of that really unnerves me because I believe in a lot of it, but just as a movie itself, I think it's honestly one of the best horror movies ever made. I think it's not just trying to be a shock fest. It's a very well-made movie. I think the director William Friedkin directed a masterpiece by going to the extremes to get the scares, but also making it feel strangely realistic. That's a delicate balance, especially when making a horror movie to achieve, and I think he did it excellently. Um, and I'd probably have no problem giving it a 5 out of 5, and I think I've now, with the horror challenge combined with when I did this last year, I've now talked about my top 3 favorite horror movies. It's The Shining, Alien, and now The Exorcist. Um, and yeah, I just think it's brilliantly shot. All the dark shadows and various light angles and stuff just really add to the spooky atmosphere. And the performances are great across the board. I mentioned Linda Blair. There's also Ellen Burstyn as the mother, who actually provides a pretty smart touch for the movie, I think. Because, one of the ideas about Reagan is, she's a girl who doesn't normally swear, so then when she starts doing so, later they assume, like, oh, it must be something unusual because, she couldn't have picked this up on her own. But there is a scene where Ellen Burstyn is trying to talk to her ex-husband on the phone and letting Lucia loose a string of obscenities, and Reagan hears her, so like it does kind of introduce a little bit more skepticism in there that maybe she just picked it up from her mother. So, until the second half when it's shown pretty clearly that there's something supernatural going on, you could be skeptical and just say she picked this up from her mom, and now she's just repeating things she heard while she's throwing a fit. But oh yeah, I also really like Lee J. Cobb as the police officer who's investigating the murder of the mom's boyfriend who fell out of the house when he went to see Reagan. His scenes are definitely a lot calmer than a lot of them. He kind of approaches things in a sardonic manner, and he kind of lightens the tension a bit. I enjoy the scenes with his character for that reason, and I'm used to seeing him play a villain, like on the Waterfront or 12 Angry Men, but here he's a fun guy. He's a cop that you could get a beer with and have a fun conversation. And then there's the potential for a little scare even at the very end of the movie when Reagan, she sees the other priest cross, and but she jumps at him and she gives him a kiss, kind of, I think, just in general, thanking priests for saving her from this. But for a split second, you're like, oh crap, is she gonna attack him again? Like, is she still possessed? I do want to actually, real quick, talk about the ending. So, if you haven't seen the movie and you want to, spoiler alert, just stop the video now if you don't want to hear about the ending. But just know I do give this a 5 out of 5. It's my third favorite horror film, and you should check it out if you think you can handle it. But about that ending, So the older priest von Sydow's character, he ends up uh, dying during the exorcism. It's not really clear how or why. If Reagan somehow killed him, or if just the stress killed him, because we could kind of tell it was beginning to wear on him both at the beginning and then when he shows up in America to help with this, you could tell like he can't do this for very much longer. But anyway, after that, Father Karras tells the demon to come into him, and then he jumps out the window and kills himself. Um, I've heard a couple of different interpretations of that scene. One says that the demon won because he really, obviously the girl was um, just a pawn. The demon really wanted to get Karras all along, and so he finally gets him and kills Karras, and the demon wins in the end. And that's one interpretation. Another is that Karras actually made the decision to jump out the window, not the demon, and so he effectively sacrificed his life to save the girl. Kind of a Christ metaphor there a little bit. Um, I tend to lean towards the latter myself. Um, I could see either one holding water, but I tend to go more towards the latter because the vibe I get from the ending where they're wrapping everything up is more of a bittersweet than a ominous he's still out there kind of ending. Uh, Garbage sequels notwithstanding, but that's what I think. I think that Karras made the decision to sacrifice his life to save the girl. And yeah, I like that. I like that idea a lot better. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally misinterpreting it, but that's just what I got. And yeah, it's a great movie. It's one of the masterpieces of our time. I advise non-horror fans to not look down on it. It's as well made as any other movie you'll come across, and yeah, it's great.